Bombay, January 1st, 1978. While the city celebrates the new year, passengers board Air India Flight 855. The aircraft is a Boeing 747-200 named Emperor Ashoka. This was the first 747 in the Air India fleet, a flagship designed to showcase Indian heritage to the world. Its upper deck featured the Maharaja Lounge, complete with luxury bars and tapestries, marking India's entry into the elite group of nations operating the Queen of the Skies. In the cockpit are three of the airline's most senior professionals: Captain Madan Lal Kukar, First Officer Indu Varani, and Flight Engineer Alfred Faria. Together, they have logged over 22,000 flight hours. The flight began with every technical and human redundancy in place. It was a routine 3.5-hour trip to Dubai, operated by a modern aircraft and 3 aviators whose careers spanned the history of commercial jet travel. At 8:12 p.m., the engines roar to life. The 747 accelerates down runway 27, heading west. The geography of Mumbai's airport is a factor here. The runway ends directly at the shoreline of the Arabian Sea. On a westbound departure at night, the pilots have less than 60 seconds before the city lights and visual references disappear, replaced by the total darkness of the ocean. With the moon in a waning phase, there is no ambient light to define the horizon. The transition from visual flight to instrument flight must be immediate and absolute. The wheels leave the tarmac at 8:12 p.m. The crew is now 100 seconds from impact. The environment has stripped away their physical senses. To keep the plane level, they are now entirely dependent on the data provided by the instruments on the panel. The climb begins smoothly. As the plane passes 1,500 feet, Captain Kukar follows the standard departure procedure, banking the aircraft into a gentle right turn. To maintain orientation, pilots rely on the attitude indicator. A gyroscope inside the device keeps the display aligned with the Earth, showing a blue sky and a brown ground, so the pilot knows their exact bank angle relative to the horizon. As the 747 reaches a 15-degree right bank, the captain's primary instrument stops updating. It is now frozen in place. The plane levels off and then begins banking the other way, but the captain's gauge remains locked in a right turn. He moves the control yoke further to the left to correct the perceived error, but the display doesn't budge. This creates a state of spatial disorientation. The captain's inner ear can feel the plane turning left, but his eyes are fixed on a gauge that insists the plane is still banked to the right. Pilots are trained to ignore their physical sensations and trust their instruments. Captain Kukar follows this rule perfectly. He ignores his senses and obeys the gauge, unaware that the data he is trusting is false. There are 3 attitude indicators in this cockpit. While the captain's primary gauge is frozen, the instruments in front of the first officer and the backup on the center console are functioning normally. These working gauges are showing the truth. The aircraft is not in a right turn. It is banking aggressively to the left, and the angle is becoming dangerous. Confusion takes over. The first officer mutters that his own instrument has toppled, but then says it looks fine. The flight engineer shouts a warning to not go by that one, but he doesn't specify which of the 3 gauges is the failing one. First Officer Varani watches the captain's hands move the yoke further to the left. His own instruments show the bank angle passing 30 degrees, then 40. Despite the clear evidence in front of him, he remains in his seat, following the captain's lead without reaching for the controls or declaring he has the aircraft. The captain continues to pull the yoke left, trying to fix the frozen right turn indication. The 747 rolls past 100 degrees, flying nearly upside down, before falling into a high-speed, nose-down dive toward the sea. A mechanical failure started the crisis, but the inability of the crew to resolve the conflicting data in those final seconds allowed the descent to become terminal. At 8:13 p.m., the aircraft hits the water at high speed. All 213 people on board are killed instantly, and the flagship of the Indian fleet is destroyed. Indian investigators concluded that the crash was caused by the malfunctioning attitude indicator and the crew's failure to cross-check their instruments. Boeing argued that the blame lay with the captain's physical condition. They pointed to his history of diabetes and alcohol use, suggesting these factors made him more susceptible to the spatial disorientation that led to the crash. This dispute highlighted a critical point of failure in aviation. the moment where a single broken instrument meets a human mind that has been trained to trust it above all else. Less than a year later, a British Airways 747 taking off from Zurich suffered the exact same instrument failure. The captain's attitude indicator froze just seconds after takeoff. In that case, the captain immediately identified the failure and handed control to the first officer. The flight continued safely to London. But in 1999, the pattern repeated. A Korean Air Cargo 747 crashed after takeoff from London when the captain followed a frozen indicator into a fatal bank, while his crew watched the working gauges and remained silent. These events accelerated the adoption of crew resource management. This modern training shifted the focus from individual pilot skill to team communication, explicitly encouraging junior officers to challenge their superiors if the safety of the flight is at risk. Flight 855 demonstrated that technical skill is secondary to the cockpit's social structure. Safety is only as strong as the most junior pilot's ability to speak the truth and say, "I have control."